Hello, everyone. I am Anthony with livingtheend.com. And again, just to give you the affirmation that I use all the time, I am living in my highest, best, and most abundant state. And because of that, everything in my reality is working out perfectly for my benefit, regardless of what the 3D circumstances are showing. That covers all the bases, folks. There is nothing left out of everything. There is nothing better than the best. There is nothing more than most. And there is nothing higher than the highest. So, this morning I am using these earpods and microphone because when I'm driving this car, it's a Lexus SUV and it's got a big motor and it's got a rumbly exhaust. So the last video that I did driving this one, when I went back and listened to it and stuff, you could really hear the motor, and so I decided, well, let's try this, and this is a little bit more quiet. So anyway, today we're going to talk about third parties. I've got a couple of you that have run into third party issues, and I'm going to explain why that happened, and then I'm going to explain how we move on from the third party. First of all, you need to realize that you are it. It's just you. It's just you in your reality, or you are your reality, is a better way to look at it. It's a more truer way to look at it. And because of that, everything that you experience, people, places, things, and circumstances, are coming from you. Whether you think they are or not, and whether you like it or not. And because of that, only you have control over what happens in your reality. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. And so, when you have an SP and a third party pops up, it's because somewhere in either your psyche, your subconscious, your belief systems, your assumptions, or things that you thought about or had conversations with or had fears about, dealt with a third party, and a third party showed up. And a third party can be anything. A third party can even be a circumstance that happens. Like your SP got offered a job all the way across the country. That circumstance can be a third party. So this is how third parties come about. You have a SP and you start, you're trying to manifest this SP back. And you start having these thoughts that you're not good enough. And chances are you had those thoughts to begin with, especially if it's somebody that you knew, and then you had a relationship with this individual, and then the relationship broke up. 9 times out of 10, you had the feeling that you weren't good enough in one form or fashion. And that in itself can bring about a third party. So the key here is to change those thoughts. Okay? Another thing that happens, and I see this a lot, this happens probably more than anything else. And this is where I tell people, I tell clients, you know, if you've got a social media, if you have a big social media platform, or you're always on social media and stuff, I tell people get off of social media, because that is going to really hamper your progress, especially if you're a person that is dependent upon social media. If you're the type of person that depends on affirmations coming from social media, then you're going to have a tough time. It just is. I see it time and time again, and I try to get people to get off of social media, and they won't. And then 6 months later, they come crying back and saying, "Okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Let's just get this fixed. If I have to get off social media, then so be it." And so they do. Some of them. Some don't. Some of them get off of social media, and then lo and behold, they start to see their life turn around, because they're not in there snooping on what their SP is doing. They're not popping up with friends that are seeing things on social media and then putting it on their social media platforms for you to see, that remind you of said SP. And then you don't see an SP with a cousin that you don't know and think that it's a third party, and then that in itself draws in a third party. And there's there's an infinite amount of ways that comes about. And so I'm not going to cover all of those things. I'm going to cover how we get rid of it. Now, the whole premise behind law of assumption, law of attraction, conscious creating, whatever you want to call it, the whole premise behind that is that you, whatever you focus on, you get. That's the simple way of looking at it. Okay. And that in itself is kind of a misnomer, because really everything is based on who you are being. That's the real thing that's happening, and that's why Neville Goddard always said, "There's no one and nothing to change but self." You have to change yourself for you to get those things that you want. Okay? And then so with an SP, the SP, you need to, with an SP, you need to see yourself and be the person that is with that SP. Okay? You have to see yourself in a relationship with that SP. And then that will be the thing that actually helps you get what it is that you're looking for. Okay? You have to become that person. You have to be that person. And the challenge is that most of us, for whatever reason, we don't see ourselves as doing that. We can't see ourselves as doing that. And so we think that it's something that we can do on the outside, that it's something that we could do in the physical world in which to make this happen. And it's not. All right. So how do we get rid of a third party? Well, first of all, you have to realize that you only have the now moment. Okay. And everything happens in the now moment. When you're thinking of something, you're thinking of it now. Even if you're thinking of something in the past or you're thinking of something in the future, you're thinking of it now. So the subconscious, the way the subconscious works is it's looking at and experiencing things that is happening, that you're thinking of, or that you have feelings about, or that you're experiencing. And then it is looking to make things to validate that in your experience. All right. So if you're fixated on a third party, or you're fixated on your SP possibly moving out of the state to, or even the country to another country because of a job offer, then your subconscious will say, okay, your wish is my command, and goes to work to bring that about. And so this is how third parties come into play. You're thinking about your SP and a third party, and boom, you got a third party issue now. Okay. I have a client that was, and it still is in a relationship. It's a different type of relationship, but anyway. And her previous SP had a third party, and then she felt that this would never happen again, with anything, that there wouldn't be a third party, involved and stuff. And just the fact of her thinking of that caused the new SP to have a third party situation going on. I'm not going to go into all the details and stuff that happened, but it wasn't so much that all of a sudden he had this third party popped up. It was because his friends had told my client that he was not necessarily a womanizer, but had a fancy for women and whatnot, and he was kind of flirtatious and kind of gregarious. He was a gregarious type of person. And so this bothered her. And because it bothered her, it showed up in the form of a third person. Okay? And so the way out of that is to go back to your end story. Remember, the basis is you're creating an end story of the desire that you have. And in that end story, there is no third party. It's just you and your SP and however you want to do it. Okay? And you're not even thinking of the SP. Now, I hear a lot of coaches out there. I've seen a lot of coaches talk about, and people say that, hey, we don't want anything bad to happen to the third party. We want them to leave amicably. We want to see them with another person in a different relationship. No, we don't. We don't want to see them at all. We don't want to think about them. We want them to just disappear off the face of our earth. And what I mean, our earth is our reality. Remember, this is my world. You guys are just living in it. That's the attitude you need to have. Okay? Because that's how it is. This is your reality and your reality alone. Okay? You say who's in it. You say who's involved in it. You say how things are going to go. I can't tell you how many people I've had that I've done the thing where I want to see them have a happy life and so on and so forth, and they're still there, and they're actually happier now with my SP than they were before. Well, no, duh. That's the energy that you put out there, and so that's got to be reflected back to you, one way or another. And because you were worried about a 3P, but now you want that 3P to move on, the subconscious doesn't look at it that way. The subconscious is very simple. It's very simple on how it builds off of what you're thinking about. Okay? It doesn't understand no. It doesn't understand not. It's all inclusive. Here's the thing to understand about the subconscious and about the universe or God or what the infinite intelligence, because it's all basically the same thing. Okay? Your subconscious. Some people think that there is a conscious, a subconscious, and then a superconscious. Okay? Your subconscious is, for simplicity's sake, your subconscious is God. It has, knows, and is everything. Okay? That's how it creates. So, and in that, God is all loving and all inclusive. There is nothing left out of everything or anything. Okay? Nothing. There's nothing left out. All right? So, it doesn't understand no, and it doesn't understand not. It just is. So if you are thinking of a third party, whether you're thinking, I don't want the third party, it doesn't understand the I don't want. It only understands want. Okay? That's all it understands. And so you need to understand that, so that you can get past this mistake that people always make about third parties and having this third party go off and have this lovely life of their own. No, I don't care what happens to the third party. I just want the third party to disappear. Because in my mind, the third party does not exist. And for the clients that I have that have taken that thought process and that role, it's funny because all of a sudden the third party just disappears, is gone, doesn't exist. You can't find them anywhere. That's the attitude that you have to have. Okay? Don't worry about what happens to them. That's not your job. Remember, your job is living in the end. Your job is to design the end story and to live in that end story. And that's it. How that third party disappears is not your concern. Don't worry about it. You focus upon you and your relationship with your SP, and that's it. That's all you do. Don't mess with the middle. Don't try and figure out the how. That's not your job. All right? Use affirmations that are based upon you and your SP. That's it. And really all you need to do is and this is something that I've talked about when I started writing the book on the self-concept years ago now. And it's not finished yet. Sorry. Your self-concept is key. It's everything. And these coaches that say that you don't have to have a self-concept, you don't have to worry about what your self-concept is, are dead wrong. They don't have a clue. And some of these coaches are huge. I don't understand their idea behind that, because, and it's funny, I'll listen to them and then I'll go back and I'll listen to other stuff that they do, and they actually talk about changing your self-concept. But yet in another segment, they're saying that you don't need to worry about the self-concept. I just saw one pop up just the other day of somebody who's exploding right now, and it's like, I was like, And this person, I was thinking, hey, this guy seems pretty cool. And all of a sudden I saw that and I go, yeah, he jumped the shark. He lost it. Your self-concept is what's key. I've got clients who focused 100% on their self-concept. Nothing else, not the SP, not jobs, not nothing. And what happened? Their entire life changed because of their self-concept. All of a sudden, their money issues disappeared. All of a sudden, now they got more people calling them and wanting to have dates with them than they can shake a stick at because of that self-concept. So focus on your self-concept, and I always tell my clients, especially ones that are really in a bad state. For the first month, we're going to focus 100% on self-concept. Nothing else, just you, only you. Then I drop it back to 95%, and then we'll sprinkle in a little bit of a SP here and there, and then 90% self-concept, 10% whatever your desires are. That's it. That's as low as I'll go. I won't go any lower. If I sense that the client is starting to focus more and more on this SP type situation, what happens a lot, I tell them, look, if you can't focus 90% on yourself, I can't work with you. I can't do it. Because your self-concept alone will get your SP. But they think that they have to focus entirely on this SP, and when they do that, they don't understand why it's taken so long and why they get this hot and cold thing going on. It's because of you. Remember, Neville said, and he's not the only one, the Bible says it as well, there is no one and nothing to change but self. You are the change agent. And until you change, your world is going to stay the same. You have to change. So folks, here's to changing you. Thanks for listening. And remember, you've got this.